Right. And I think the big thing we found too is when we don't have tools in place and we don't make it easy for people to pull reports, they just look at things less often with lower frequency,
Mhm.
and it becomes a bit of an issue. So if you have, I don't know, let's say it takes you 10 minutes to pull a report, and then after you install some tool, it takes you a minute, right? Now you can just pull so many more reports, dive in much deeper. People do ask themselves that question. Oh, why? What they use the five whys, right? The classic lean manufacturing technique. We're like, oh, why is revenue down with this SKU? Okay, well, why did that happen? Why? And they're happy to just dig because they have that tool and it makes it easier. And that's just a problem we run into in the past when we were more spreadsheet driven. I mean, is everyone going to like export, marry these reports,
Yeah.
use XLOOKUP, et cetera? Honestly, no. Especially if they're on the production floor or something like that. They're on the production team where they're not that data intensive. Are they going to ping our team and be like, hey, can you put this SQL report together? Like, probably not.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys, have you guys run into that? Have you guys found it's much easier with some of the tools you're using now, et cetera?
Let me show you something that,
Yeah, reporting and tools,
yeah, go on,
that's so much easier now. Oh,
Chris.
sorry. Go ahead, Krishna.
Go on, continue. I can pick up after you.
No, I was just going to say absolutely. Like there's things that I would normally spend a few hours on that now I can literally pull together in minutes. And it gives you way more time to deep dive and analyze and then go pull together other reports that help that report make sense.
Yeah. And Kristen, isn't part of the reason there is because you've invested into a data warehouse, I want to say maybe a couple of quarters back, or that's at least that's what I
Yes, we did. We invested in a data warehouse to help aggregate a lot of that data for us and just basically have a central source of truth for all teams, not just like finance, but operations, marketing, everybody.
right. So this is one representation actually. This is what we end up doing. We build a AI ready data foundation for brands. So we are pulling in data from Amazon, Shopify, TikTok, Walmart, all of your advertising channels, your COGS if they're sitting in an ERP like Fulfill or NetSuite. We pull all of that data together. We create the single source of truth, which is certified, accurate across all of these channels. And then you get all these data sets, which will help you understand your contribution margin, which will help you build your pacing reports, have a single source of truth for inventory, etc. Right? So once you have the single source of truth, you can present that data to your BI tools if you like to have a dashboard, right? You can do that, which is what has been happening all these years. There's still some room for it because it has a lot more metrics in a single place, and you don't have to ask 10 questions to get that. You can connect it to a spreadsheet if you're more like me, like I love spreadsheets. So I connect my Google Sheet to a data warehouse and pull directly data from it and start messing around. Or you can connect this data infrastructure to Claude, or we have our own product called IQ, wherein you can actually ask questions, interact with your data, get answers, and move quickly, right? Decisions become faster. You're not necessarily waiting for an analyst in Philippines or an analyst offshore who is pulling in this data manually, turnaround times are longer, etc. You get instant answers faster. The only risk with the LLMs is they tend to hallucinate from time to time. So from an IQ standpoint, for us, we are trying to build a product that doesn't hallucinate, right? So like no mushrooms included in it. So that's what we are shooting for. And the idea here is, if you're a brand, you don't have a data team, you want to understand how your inventory positions are across your warehouses, or you want to understand your contribution margin across your SKUs, it gets reduced to a simple question now, right? And that's the power of it. So let me quickly show you a demo. I won't take more than a minute here. Uh,
And Krishna, what's the timeline to get set up typically for a normal brand?
Oh, that's a great question. I would say it depends on the complexity of the business. One of the
Hmm.
biggest challenges that
Let's say not a simple modern. That's too complicated. Something simpler.
we can get up and running.
Yeah, Cadeline's too complicated too.
Yeah. So if the brand is, single channel, then it's much faster, 2 to 4 weeks. If you're multi-channel and if you have a large SKU catalog and you haven't done much diligence on managing your SKUs, because once you're focused on growth, you're basically creating things to move quickly, right? And when you're trying to move quickly, you end up creating stuff that may or may not scale. So one of the biggest challenges that we run into is just SKU management. Like the same product has 5 different names. So the moment you have
Right.
that, your cohorts are broken across 5 different SKUs. So there's this mapping, all of that has to be done. Yeah. So even with that complexity, I think 3 to 4 months, maybe 6 months max for a complicated business to have complete visibility into their sales performance, marketing performance, margin performance, uh, is is not unreasonable. And those time frames are shrinking and shrinking very fast, right? Because even internally, we are using AI a lot to build these data models out and customizing these data models. So we do see that time frame shrinking as we, go further into 2026. So yeah, so here's an example, right? Krishna was talking about using AI. So IQ is our product, but you can connect Claude to our data foundation. So here is asking a question on what was my contribution margin last month. We have trained IQ on our customers' business logic. So IQ knows how you measure your business. So what it does is it applies the business logic, generates a plan for you in simple English that you can understand, and then it generates a sequel, a summary that you can read. And then after that, you can, ask it, deep dive. So over here, I started off by saying what was my contribution margin last month, right? And then how does that compare to previous year? And then I wanted to drill down into, why there was a drop, do a deep dive analysis, gave me some insights. All of this significantly reduces time to insight. And if you can reduce the time to insight, you can reduce the time to action is what we like to believe, right? So yeah, given that this is available now for pretty much every company, I personally see no reason why a business shouldn't invest in having a single source of truth as early as they possibly
Right.
can, as much as as long as they have some mind space to give to getting that infrastructure up.
So Krishna,
Yeah, I
here's
think
a here's a question on that the bottom layer, the I forget what you call it, the data layer,
The
maybe.
data foundation.
I mean, what is the foundation? What do you think it's important for people to be thinking through on what they need? Like, would you start with accounting? What are the basics you need to build that layer that you can put everything on top of it? How would you think about if you were just starting up now? How would you think about this stack?
From a build standpoint or from a consumption standpoint, Jeff? From a
Uh,
brand perspective, right? Your question?
from a brand perspective, yes.
Yeah. The way I think about it from a brand perspective is look at the most important use case that you have that you're having difficulty finding an answer to. When I talk to customers these days, getting to daily contribution margin by SKU, by channel, by campaign is extremely hard, right? Especially if you're shipping to different countries, the shipping rates vary. If you have an ERP, the complications increase, etc., etc. But I would say start by getting your contribution margin reporting up. And to build a contribution margin reporting, you have to consolidate data from your inventory, ERP, marketing, and sales. So your data foundation is built. And then we can build use cases on top, starting with measuring contribution and then getting into pacing dashboards, inventory visibility systems, customer cohorts. Kristen mentioned earlier that they're doubling down on focusing on retention, right? In order to focus on retention, you absolutely have to understand how your cohorts are performing, right? And those are all simple extensions once you have the foundation in place. So I would say
that makes sense.
I would ask a CEO of a brand to commit at least a quarter to get the foundation up. And then the benefits just amplify because the consumption surface, which is now increasingly becoming these AI tools, really plays self-serve analytics in the user's hand, right? So you're just a question away.
And then we are over time. We're being told to end the session. So thanks to everyone who attended. Make sure you go to the next item in the agenda. You can just click the thingy on the top and you can bounce around. See you soon.